The plot thickens. Now it's very interesting because the latest developments on Kenya's political scene are actually very confusing. There is so much happening, and it is happening so fast, that it becomes extremely difficult to be able to read between the lines. It becomes extremely difficult for most analysts, to figure out exactly what is happening. Just to illustrate this, there was a very interesting discussion on KTN TV recently where a panel of different analysts, various analysts, I think there were about 4 or 5, were trying to analyze the president's announcement of part of his cabinet and what it means for the country going forward. Now, the interesting thing here is that the analysts could not agree on whether the 13 CSs, the ones whose names were not mentioned, whether they've been fired or they're still in limbo, waiting for the full cabinet to be announced. So let's try and get some clarity here of exactly what's going down in our beautiful Republic of Kenya. Now, golden rule as an analyst: politicians will never tell you the truth. That's a fact. And this applies the world over. And when they have no option but to tell you the truth, more often than not, they'll spin it. Now, what do I mean by spinning? Simply put, they will clothe the truth in a manner designed to direct you away, and in a completely different direction, from where they're going. Classic example: Mohoro Ndegwa has not been fired; he has been redeployed. Another classic example: there are no difficulties in naming the new government, and naming the new CSS, The president is just being careful to make sure that he names men and women who have impeccable integrity, who will carry forward his agenda, etc., etc. So in order to avoid getting confused, according to me, one of the biggest weapons any analyst needs to use is something called body language. Because a politician can speak, but the body language never lies. Another very valuable tool for an analyst to get his analysis correct, is to observe what is happening behind the scenes, and specifically the reaction of politicians, the reaction of powerful people behind the scenes. And so let's start with the reaction that has shocked the nation to the bones. The reaction of a top official that has completely baffled very many Kenyans and also alarmed many Kenyans. Now I'm talking about the incident where a nation journalist was threatened. Deputy President William Ruto has a spokesman called David Mugonyi. The man is actually supposed to be a qualified journalist, and he acts as the DP's spokesperson. Now, there's a nation journalist called Justus Wanga who wrote a very interesting story which appeared in the Sunday Nation. Mr. Wanga said in his story that actually the DP was in the country at the time the president was naming part of his cabinet. The long and short of the story was trying to emphasize the fact that there's a problem between the president and his deputy. Now, just think about it for a minute. Ordinarily, that should not be a big deal, Journalists sometimes get it wrong, But the truth here is that the nation and the nation journalists and the nation's internal system for fact-checking and printing stories very rarely gets it wrong, historically, if you look at the track record. Now, I don't want to confuse you, so let's make a distinction here very early, Because I know I can hear some of you saying, oh, what are you talking about? The nation has been printing a lot of stories that have turned out to be false. The distinction I want us to make is between a reporter writing a news story where he's quoting sources, okay, and a reporter or a journalist trying to analyze a situation where he personally takes the initiative, he or she personally takes the initiative to talk to various different sources, yeah, and then they come out with a story exactly like the Sunday Nation story, yeah, that caused Bwana Wanga to be threatened. Let me give you an example, yeah, that I've mentioned in this channel before. A reporter gets access to a news source, yeah, the police department, and the police department tells the reporter that Msando's killers have been arrested in Uganda. Now, whoever came up with that story, yeah, obviously had their objectives and intentions in getting the story out, yeah, and because the story comes from the police department is part of government, yeah, it's a recognized source. And so the reporter's got no option but to write the story and get it published. But if an anonymous scholar calls the nation and says Msando's killers have been found, have been arrested in Uganda, definitely that story will not be printed. So I hope you get my drift there. I hope you get my drift here, right? So Bwana Wanga comes up with this story, okay, and obviously talks to a source whom he does not name. That can happen sometimes, yes. But you can be sure that before he got his story printed, his bosses at the nation are aware of who the source is, yeah. And therefore, based on the credibility of the source, yeah, they okay that fact, yeah, and they allow the story to be printed. Now, the nation has got a very long history of being accurate in this kind of stories, okay. So it's important to make a distinction, right? Anyway, the appearance of this story causes somebody to get so upset, yeah, that they actually threaten a nation journalist. Now, the big question here we have to answer is why. People have been saying for a very long time that there's a problem between the president and his deputy, okay, and it was not a big deal. Nobody went berserk over that. But all of a sudden, after the president names his partial cabinet, yes, somebody comes out with the same statement, but this time adding what appears to be evidence, the fact that the deputy president was in the country, but he was not next to the president when the president was making his announcement, as is usually the case. And somebody just loses it. Now, one of the things that has really shocked me about this is that is how a person can threaten somebody over the phone, and not just anybody, a reporter. Now, we know all smartphones can record conversations. We all know that. So if you want to threaten somebody, the last place to do it is on his cell phone. And I'm sure Bwana Mgonyi knows this, okay? However, my theory is that the man was so upset, so shaken, so disturbed, yeah, that they completely forgot that they were talking over the phone. And they issued what were definitely open threats, yes, because the conversation was recorded as evidence, yeah, and it is carried in the Nation website, yeah. You can actually listen to the conversation and judge for yourself. But from where I sit, definitely those are very serious threats. What exactly did Mgonyi say? Okay, let me quote. This is Mgonyi talking now. I want to be outright with you. Ukitaka kufutwa kazi, utafutwa. Sikudanganyi, utafutwa. Direct translation, if you want to be fired, continue on that path. You'll be fired. I assure you, you'll be fired. And then followed another threat, which in my view was even more serious. And I quote, and if you guys continue with this nonsense, we have options. Yeah, he meant to say we have options. What? So the other options apart from being fired, what could these options be? Hey. Now in the next episode, we're going to answer the question, yeah, not about the options. I leave that to you. We're going to answer the question, what is this that disturbed Bwana Mgonyi so much. Yeah, about a story where somebody was just repeating what has been said very often in the media and elsewhere. We've even said that in this channel several times, that there seems to be a problem between the president and his deputy. Yeah, it is all over social media. Everybody's talking about it. But why? Why did this nation story, upset DP Ruto's camp so much? Okay, so you know the usual drill. Click on the link on your top left-hand corner. As soon as that story is ready, you'll be straight onto it. I'm of course addressing those who come to this particular recording very early, and maybe the recording will not have been put up yet. Yeah, but for the vast majority of you, it should already be ready. Just click on that link, top left-hand corner, and you'll be there. This is Chris Kumekucha.